Do you think the federal certifying bodies for sustainable fisheries alleviate the issue of overfishing?
The problem of any federal rules or regulations about overfishing is that they apply only to U.S. Ships and to U.S. waters, so that the United States won't enter into to self-policing the international waters until other countries do the same. So I don't hold out much hope for federal regulations.
What do you know about marine protected areas, or MPAs, and do you think they are an effective solution?
The MPAs have been very helpful, I think. Surprisingly, George Bush, who was not an environmental president, has set aside one of the larger MPAs out along the northeastern edge of the Hawaiian Islands. And I think that we need more such preserves for marine life to try and establish those population centers in the oceans that can produce new fish and keep certain species in adequate numbers or more than adequate numbers. So that's a highly desirable thing. But the question is, our MPAs have been in what we consider our waters. To establish an MPA in international waters would require international agreement, and I don't think that's going to happen.
So fish farming, regulation on bycatch, subsidies, certifying bodies for sustainable fisheries, and MPAs. Which one do you think is the most viable solution to the issue of overfishing?
That's an interesting question and a difficult one to answer, in that there are so many problems in so many ways. I personally think that aquaculture of fish that eat grain is the best solution to supplying fish as protein for humankind. To continue to rely on the oceans, which are themselves dying from global warming, from over-acidification, taking in too much CO2, is a pretty bleak future, and I have no good feelings about it.
So one more question. What do you think of the tank-bred tuna? The number 2 of the 50 best inventions that Time magazine proposed. They have come up with a way to breed tuna in a tank on land. What do you think of that?
Tuna eat fish, and as such, if we raise tuna in ponds on land, we still have to go out and catch the fish to make fish meal and fish oil to feed the tuna. So that the question is it worth depleting the small fish in the oceans now that we've already depleted 90% of the large fish? So I'm not in favor of any aquaculture that requires fishing for small fish to feed large fish. It's vacuuming the oceans of the small fish, and we need to realize that.
Can they not just grind up like bycatch?
No, first of all, it's too expensive. A lot of bycatches are shellfish and birds and turtles and so forth. So the problem with bycatch is one that wouldn't help this particular solution.
Thank you, Professor.
You're very welcome. I'm happy to help.
Actually, I have one more question.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Just like you talked about how there would be a lot of international cooperation required, and that just hasn't been happening. But like in a lot of other issues, not overfishing, when the U.S. Takes the lead on something, other countries will follow. Why do you think that's like not happening with overfishing?
Can you think of any other examples other than the CFCs for ozone depletion, where there's been international agreement? I can't think of any.
So it's just every country is just too focused on their own.
The closest we come to an international agreement related to the oceans are the international agreements about whaling, in which 2 or 3 countries, particularly Japan, says no, we won't agree with this because we want to fish for whales for research, so that the Japanese continue to be, along with 1 or 2 other countries, the only countries not willing to set limits on whaling, and I think that's unfortunate.
So what do you think it would take to be able to come to an international agreement, or not even just like a couple of the main fishing countries maybe?
The main fishing countries right now are China, Japan, probably those two, Korea, and I see no willingness on the part of those countries to set limits on international fishing. The Russians are another major player.
So do you think as consumers then we just need to like cut back on the size, like on how much fish we eat?
People are cutting back on the consumption of ocean fish because it's getting so expensive. And it's getting so expensive because there are so few bluefin tuna, so few marlins, so few swordfish. As a consequence, the price is going up. But the people who are fishing have extra incentive to go out and catch the remaining fish because the prices are high now.
What if the government regulates those industries? What if the government, say, put taxes on fish that's being sold? Would that help?
It would raise the price of
It would
fish.
decrease the demand, right?
It would reduce the demand in the United States. But I think in this time of anti-taxes, it would be difficult for, let's say, any administration to say, we're going to raise taxes on tuna fish sold in stores so that we can reduce the harvesting of tuna. Americans would eat less, other countries would eat more.
Okay.
Good.
Thank you.
All right, thank you
Sorry
very
to be
much.
so pessimistic. I think there are no good solutions to this, and I think things will get worse before they get better.
Oh.
And they're not going to get better, so they'll get worse.
Okay.
So it's a very serious matter. In fact, what did I read or ran across something just there was an article, maybe I ran across it in Yahoo or within the past week, saying that the overfishing problem is one that is a very serious problem and not going to get better. There's just too many ships.
That's really sad.
It is sad. But the oceans are dying anyway. The oceans are dying.
Yeah.
They're dying because they're warming up. They're dying because that's causing migrations of fish. They're dying because as the big fish that are being fished out, what are we seeing more and more of in the oceans? Jellyfish and squid, because they don't need as much oxygen. Warm water doesn't hold much oxygen. So we're losing oxygen in the waters. At the same time, we're picking up carbon dioxide in the waters, which is causing the ocean to become acidified, which is causing the small base of the food chain that makes carbonate shells. They can't grow their shells because the ocean is too acidic, and ocean waters dissolve calcareous shells. So for all of these reasons, the ocean's in serious shape. There's a growing consensus the oceans are dying. They're becoming anoxic, not oxygen-rich, and over-acidified. Those are bad for everything that lives in them, except squid and jellyfish.
So what do you think of 2012? Is it going to come true?
I haven't seen it. No, of course it won't come true. But I asked my wife today. Here she is here. We met in Beijing.
I remember her.
Yeah, I asked my wife today. I said, "You want to go see 2012 tonight?" And she says, I don't like that kind of not true movie. I said, "Okay." She said, "Some people in China think maybe it says what happens in 2012, and they are worried."
Wow.
I said, "Tell your friends not to worry about it. Just a movie."